Hello and welcome to you all. This is another edition of Fake News Friday as we try to find warmth and comfort and serenity in the midst of the blizzard of lies that is coming at us in all directions, from all directions in this day and age. And I assure you it has nothing to do with Elon Musk taking over Twitter. I am Andrew Lawton, joined by Sue-Ann Levy, who I believe is, unless you are actually sitting on a beach right now, a purveyor of fake news with that background of yours.
It's very fake. I thought it was appropriate.
Fake news. See, Sue-Ann, there you go with the fake news again. You are sowing discord in our fragile society.
I hope I don't trigger a few people.
Actually, you're just making me jealous. I would take a fake beach over where I am in Canada right now with the weather that's been coming down. So, in any case, let's. Speaking of Elon Musk, this has been, I think, the gift that keeps on giving for Fake News Friday. So, Elon Musk, a few weeks back, takes over Twitter. There's been this perpetual frenzy by a lot of people in media and in politics. And yesterday, they spoke about on Daily Brief, and as I spoke about on the Andrew Lawton Show, Elon Musk responded to a tweet of mine and said that he didn't like how it sounded like some of these policies the government is putting forward here are muzzling the voice of Canadians, which I think was a very astute and accurate analysis on this. But it's been interesting just to see some of the backlash. Like, here was one tweet from Brad Redekop, and he posted this video of Charlie Angus blaming Elon Musk for anti-Semitism. Take a look.
Elon Musk's recent purchase of Twitter has shaken up Silicon Valley and the status quo in big tech quite a bit, and perhaps breathed some fresh air into what was becoming a stale industry. His commitment to free speech and his willingness to stand up to the powers that be show how big tech can directly influence elections or stay neutral, as they should. Of course, in Canada, this legislation has the potential to tip the scales towards the NDP Liberals during elections. Big tech recognizes that, and they don't want to be the tools of censorship in Canada or anywhere else.
Talking about Elon Musk, what a great breath of fresh air. I mean, the guy's almost crashed one of the biggest platforms in the world in the space of 2 weeks. But what's so fresh about Elon Musk? Well, the rise of anti-Semitism. Oh, well, geez, that's a breath of fresh air. Vladimir Putin's troll armies against the people of Ukraine. What a breath of fresh air for backbench conservatives. And then, of course, Elon Musk wants to jail the United States' most illustrious doctor for the work he did preventing the pandemic. I bet conservatives just love that. What a breath of fresh air. If only we could go after medical science. But then, on the other hand, we have the big bad CBC running everything. You know, I thought it was George Soros. I thought it was Klaus Schwab. Now I should have thought, you know, when the leader of the Conservative Party said he was going to go after cryptocurrency to replace the Bank of Canada and shut down the CBC, I didn't know it was because of their conspiracy to control everything.
The honourable member for Saskatoon West.
This reminds me of a very simple thing. Dad jokes. You hear a dad joke, one person likes it, the next person doesn't even find it funny. Which is my point here, that we cannot allow one person or one group of people to control what we see on the internet. We have to allow a broad cross-section. Some people will like one thing, some people will like another. Some things might be true, some things might not. But as soon as we try to arbitrate those things, we're going to get ourselves into trouble. Thank you.
Now, I know you, Sue-Ann, are very well aware of anti-Semitism. I'm a Gentile. You're a Jewish woman. You've seen this firsthand. This didn't start when Elon Musk took over Twitter. I don't think we can lay anti-Semitism at his feet, can we?
Absolutely not. You know, it's funny because anti-Semitism, you know, the left would like to portray it as coming from the far right neo-Nazis. You know, that has waned and it's increased, certainly in Europe. But the bulk of anti-Semitism currently is coming from the far left. So what I see on Twitter are people who are, for example, proponents of critical race theory and things like that. Anti-Semitism is coming from the radical fringe left. And Elon Musk certainly isn't that. So you can call him a lot of things, but not that.
No, and that's the thing. And I've never liked when people cheapen what are very serious concepts, whether it's racism or anti-Semitism. And they do exactly that when they try to just like shove these things into whatever political point they're trying to make here. So Charlie Angus doesn't like Elon Musk. Okay, that's fine. I don't really care. He can debate that as much as he wants. But then to just say we have to just shove an anti-Semitism narrative into this is, I find, very disingenuous.
Well, the word anti-Semitism, the word racist, the word Islamophobic, bigot, bigotry. I mean, those words are so overused these days. And I don't know how many times you've been called a racist or a bigot, but I find it hard to believe that a Jewish lesbian, although the far left people who are going absolutely berserk, I think, on Twitter, would call me racist or call me a bigot. Come on. I fit into a couple of oppressed groups. I'm also a woman.
Yeah, you're the one that we need. You're the victim of the bigotry in that sense.
Yes. So I mean, it's just crazy the way, and it's become so tiresome. I don't know if you find that, Andrew, but I find it really tiresome when these labels are thrown at me. They mean nothing. They cheapen it, as you said.
Yeah, very much so. And I mean, some of the reaction to Elon Musk as well is just it's just not even clever. It's not witty. It's not intelligent. 22 Minutes, which is this bizarre attempt at Canadian comedy, has tweeted out a couple of Elon Musk observations. One of them, Elon Musk has dissolved Twitter's Trust and Safety Council. He's hoping this will make things safer and restore trust in Twitter. So a bit of a poor attempt at wordplay there. Another one, Elon Musk has revealed that you can now play video games off the screen in your Tesla, which is a great way to keep your mind off your car driving itself into a gorge. Okay, a little bit more pointed than the trust and safety one, but still nothing I would say is comedy here. And I'm wondering if everyone is just going to tire themselves out on this, or if Elon Musk is just the new Donald Trump in the sense that he lives rent-free in all of his critics' brains.
Well, he seems to be. And there are those who have left Twitter and then come back, and it's actually quite funny there. And Donald Trump, of course, he announced his reelection, and he's not getting the airtime that Elon Musk is. Look, the guy is very, very successful. I see more and more Teslas on the street. I'm not going to buy an electric vehicle at this point, but he's done very well. He has a very successful model. And he bought Twitter, and I think he's let some people back on Twitter, for example, Jordan Peterson, and he's let, Donald Trump back on Twitter, and I think that's a good thing. Free speech. And from what I've read and heard and seen of the people who ran Twitter beforehand, I mean, it was, as we say in Yiddish, a shanda. It was disgraceful how they behaved and how they canceled people that they didn't agree with. And it's sort of indicative of society today, isn't it? But, I find it very refreshing that he's back. And let the leftist heads explode. I really don't care.
I think, by the way, I learn a new Yiddish word every time I co-host this show with you, Sue-Ann, so thank you for that. A couple of the reactions here. Kurt Petrovich, who I had never heard of, but apparently he works for CBC, has said he bought an electric nearly 3 years ago and had test-driven a Tesla, but Musk then was already known as a COVID-denying, union-busting, narcissistic, ego-driven fabulist, so he bought a Hyundai Kona electric vehicle instead, saved money, great service, and nearly 500-kilometer range. Brad Wheeler, who is with the Globe and Mail, he tweeted out that Elon Musk is effectively like Dr. Evil. So Elon Musk, just because he was tweeting about how the Branch Covidians were getting under his nerves, he's now the sinister cat-petting villain in the Austin Powers movies. So maybe they'll tire themselves out and we can have a reset in New Year on this, but I'm not optimistic of that happening.
Well, and all I would say to these people who are tweeting, leave Twitter if you don't like it. Number one, nobody's forcing you, pulling your arm to be part of it, pulling your laptop fingers. And the guy you got to respect him. He's a really successful entrepreneur. And I just laugh at some of these people. I mean, they obviously have well, don't want to say no life, but my goodness, to get yourself all bent out of shape over Elon Musk, surely to goodness this time of year there are better things to do. Like, putting up a Christmas tree, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. It's like this time of year, the last thing I want to do is start getting into Twitter fights about billionaires whose lives are very different than my own. But to each their own, I guess. And, if that's what gives them joy in the holiday season, who am I to rob them of that? Let's talk about a little bit of a news development this week. The House of Commons passed Bill C-18, which is the bill that, if it goes through the Senate and gets royal assent and all that, will force social media companies to subsidize news companies in Canada. So it'll force social media companies to pay news companies for the privilege of letting news companies post their content to promote it on social media. It's a very bizarre, convoluted bill. I talked about it on my show yesterday. It's basically trying to get the government to offload subsidizing journalists to tech companies instead of using taxpayer money. But what was interesting is a Liberal MP tweeted a thread about how proud she was of this bill passing, and she completely, it seemed like, doesn't understand what her bill is. So this is from Lisa Hepfner, who's an Ontario Liberal Member of Parliament. She says, as a former journalist, I've always understood and appreciated the importance of local community news. I've consistently been a champion of journalism, which is why I'm so pleased to have worked on a piece of legislation that will ensure more revenue for news outlets, more transparency, and the protection of journalistic independence. She goes on, it says, our government will always support quality, fact-based Canadian journalism in a fair digital marketplace. This bill makes it harder for big digital platforms like Facebook and Google to steal local journalists' articles and repost them without credit on one of their networks. Nowhere has the government even talked about this being a bill to prevent the theft of content, which is already covered by copyright laws. This is about content that news outlets are voluntarily posting on Facebook and Twitter because they want people to see it. So they're using social media to promote it. This is now theft?
It's bizarre. I mean, but what is this the first time that an MP's not understood a bill, a piece of legislation, a budget?
That's true. And a former journalist, no doubt. I don't think, the industry is happy to or sad to have lost her.
But, it's, she's got everything reversed in our upside down world. Okay, so it's going to protect the independence of journalism? Give me a break. Journalism, I mean, once the mainstream media started being bailed out and started getting grants and bailouts and monies, they lost all their independence. I mean, that's the value of independent journalism, like True North. I mean, we're not getting government bailouts. I mean, we've seen it in real time. And transparency, please. I've never seen an era so lacking in transparency as currently in Canada, and at all levels of government. And journalistic independence, well, I already referred to that. So, we use these digital platforms, you do, I do, extensively to promote, because we're a digital platform. We use social media to promote. That's where we promote our reports. So I don't know what this woman is talking about. And as you said, thank goodness she's out of the journalism field.
Yeah, although we're stuck with her as at the seat of government instead. But, it's weird to me because what's happening is government is... Well, journalists are. Let's go back to this. Journalists have this inflated sense of self-importance, as you and I both know. And the media industry thinks it's a lot more relevant than it is to a lot of Canadians. And anytime these fights have come up between the media companies and the tech companies have said, listen, like, sharing news is 5-10% of the content on our platform. It's all cat gifs and memes and all of that people care more about than they care about journalism, which is why Facebook played hardball when Australia was trying to do something like this and said, fine, we're just going to ban links to Australian news stories. And they did this in a bit of brinksmanship. And I actually, not that I'm a big fan of Facebook and Google and all these companies, but I hope they continue to push back against this, because if news outlets want to use social media platforms to promote their work, that is a service that they are voluntarily engaging in and getting a benefit from. It's not something they can then turn around and extort these social media companies over.
And I can give you an unscientific experiment. When I post my stories, as brilliant as they are, or your stories or whatever, I get far less clicks on Facebook than when I post a picture of Frida playing, my new little puppy, or playing with Mr. Mom, Monty. This is what people follow Facebook for. Twitter's a little different, but my goodness, you're right about journalists having this inflated view. And I am, very, very self-deprecating. And I realize that my stories aren't nearly as important as my little puppy. On Facebook, at least.
Brian Lilly does that as well. He started using his work page to share pictures of his dog and pictures of the various types of scotch he's drinking. And I'm like, wow, why is Brian not doing any journalism? And then I go to his page and I realize, no, he's sharing all his work as well. But the Facebook algorithm is promoting the dog pictures and the scotch pictures more than it's promoting the journalism.
Exactly. And that's what people, and you know what? It speaks to what I just said before. Our colleagues take themselves far too seriously, and certainly instead of tweeting about Elon Musk this time of year, who probably has a gazillion dollars to spend on Christmas presents, enjoy the season. My goodness.
Well, we always try to end things on a bit of a lighter note here, and sometimes I think a picture is worth 1,000 words, a video is worth 1,000 pictures. Here is Jagmeet Singh, the leader of the NDP in the House of Commons this week.
Well, member for Burnaby South.
When I'm Prime Minister, I will keep my promises. Now, another promise, let me try again.
You know, I criticize the 22 Minutes Twitter account for not knowing real comedy. That was real comedy. Jagmeet Singh starting a sentence with "when I'm Prime Minister." That if CBC could produce that level of comedy, we'd be in a great position as a country.
Exactly. He'll be Prime Minister when the world is flat.
He'll be Prime Minister when the media gets over itself. That's about as likely as that is. I love that now, like, the pretense is gone. Everyone in the House of Commons just bursts into this, like, uproar when he says this because they all know just how absurd it is.
Well, and again, it speaks to the disconnectedness of politicians like him and a good number of the members of the NDP caucus. Like, they actually think they are going to govern one day. Please. He has none of the charm and charisma of Jack Layton. I was not a fan of Jack Layton when he was at City Hall, but at least he had charisma and at least he knew how to bring people together and make a statement. This guy has been absolutely useless. He is, he wears nice suits. I like his different colored turbans, but he's been useless.
Yeah, and it was an odd sort of, like, you and I think, have talked about this in the past. I certainly have on my show as well, that he's given away everything for nothing when it comes to this non-coalition agreement, the supply and confidence agreement he has with the Liberals, where he jumps up and down all the time and talks about how terrible the Liberals are, but he doesn't say the quiet part out loud, which is that he's the one keeping the Liberals in power right now, and he could actually cause the government to topple at any moment if he wanted to.
Yeah, that's the great irony. And yes, exactly. So you can't kvetch. I'm giving you another Yiddish word. You can't complain.
No, kvetch I knew. That was like 3 lessons ago.
Okay, excuse me. But you can't kvetch about how the Liberals aren't doing it for you. You haven't really made that many demands. You just sort of make these token press conferences and then continue to prop them up. So what are you getting from this sort of arranged marriage? What are you actually getting? I have no idea. It's so bizarre.
Well, you know what? Like I said earlier, at the very least, that was a nice bit of levity. I think Jagmeet Singh should start all speeches with, with that boilerplate "when I'm Prime Minister." It's a lot funnier than anything else we get from politics, and it's less insufferable than the never-ending land acknowledgements that are done in such a disingenuous way. So that's how all NDP speeches should start. "When I'm Prime Minister," then we can all have a laugh and forget that they exist. It was a simpler time when that was the case. Sue-Ann Levy, I hope you are enjoying the beach, even if it is fake. We can all just live in that fantasy
hot
there.
here. It's just so hot.
Is it
I've
a
got to go
humid
under
fake
my
beach
umbrella.
or is it a non-humid fake beach?
It's a fake. It's a real beach, but it's, it's a fake. I'm not really sitting on a beach, of course, and because you would be hearing the roar of the waves. But
Yeah.
anyway, it's making me feel hot.
Okay, well, instead I have like a tree and freezing rain coming out outside, so I can live in the fantasy as well as you can. We will be back next week with a very special Fake News Friday that you won't want to miss. Sue-Ann Levy, thank you so much, as always. Have a great weekend, and happy Hanukkah as well. I know that's coming up.
Hanukkah starts on Sunday, and I'm going out to get my Hanukkah bush right now.
All right, well, safe travels and happy shopping, and we will talk to you all next week.